Okay, hi guys. So I should have done this a long time ago. The fare guide, the last one I made was for December, and even from that time till now, there's been a little bit of changes I've noticed. Now, there's a new thing that, especially on InDrive, they do, where you have this. They will quote the price, and then on the side they write something like fair price. I think it's fair price with a blue arrow or something like that, just to indicate that this amount for this trip is good enough. All right. Apart from that, that could be your first for fair guide. Apart from that, uh, we have this calculation of ours, right, on the side, and I intend to update it. Okay, so without any waste of time, let's get into it. So the fair guide now is going to cut across this month. This month is almost done, and May next month. And for the fair guide, from 0 to 10 kilometers, any trip that goes from 0 to 10 kilometers. Now I'm speaking specifically to InDrive people, and I know for a fact that a lot of drivers, whether they're on any other platform, they also have InDrive. So I think you can relate when I'm talking about this. So when you see a trip that goes from a distance between 0 and not 0, of course, 1, I should say 1 and 10 kilometers, a base fare for that trip is 2,000. Now, apart from that, personally, I have a thing against going for trips less than 3,000 personally. Okay? InDrive may show you these types of trips. Maybe they'll even quote it at 1.8 and tell you that that is a fair price. It actually may be. It actually probably is. But personally, I have like a standard wherein I don't go for trips less than 3,000 unless and only unless it is at night and I just want to walk within a certain area. At night, when I want to walk within Wuse, when I want to walk only within Guarimpa, obviously I'm taking trips from here to short distance trips from, just a particular vicinity. That's only where I want to be. This is very rare, by the way. That's why I said only at night. So that is the reason for the slash 2,500, because if I add 2,000 as a base fare to kilometer, let's say 8 kilometers for instance, 2,000 to the base fare of 8 kilometers times 100, by the way, I hope maybe I should have started from that. Per kilometer is 100 naira. So if you have 8 kilometer times that by 100, you have 800. Then plus that to 2,000, which is our base fare. Then you have 2,800. That is your fare. That should be your fare for a distance of 8 kilometers. But for somebody like me, with my, well, greed, I tend to add 2,500. This will not always work for you, by the way. This will not always work for you. Unless you're willing to compromise, but this will not always work for you. I'm just saying that the least acceptable price, the least acceptable, should be a base fare of at least 2,000. This poses a little bit of a problem because there are trips that actually are like 1.6, 1.8, 1.9, 1.5, things like that. Very short distance trips. Personally, I consider them a waste of my time. Unless, again, it's at night and I'm looking to walk only within certain vicinity. But even at that, any trip of 1,000 something is a disgust to me. And not to talk of a trip of 2,000, I struggle a lot with that. Any trip around 2.8, 2.5, so I'm like, what are you doing? Trek to the place, so don't disturb me. So it has to be like 3,000 and above. That's why I have a personal base fare of 2.5 for distances between 1 and 10 kilometers. Then the next is a distance between 11 and 15 kilometers. So this just covers like a 5 kilometers more radius, because InDrive considers that in fact the ride sharing industry considers that trips that are between or below 16 kilometers are still considered short trips, not long trips. Trips from above 15 kilometers are then the long trips. So for 11 to 15 kilometers, we add 25 to it. So basically, if you see your trip is like 13 kilometers, if you add 25 to 13 kilometers, I think you'll be getting 3,800. Yeah. So 3,800 is around the premise of which you should accept or you should offer. Say for instance the person offers you 3,500 and now your calculation gives you 3,800. Okay? These are the times when you have to use your own discretion to decide, and maybe okay, I can accept this, I can let go of 300, I can let go of 200, I can let go of 100 naira, something like that. Okay? But don't go too far. Don't go too far, because the little amount is what adds up to make your profit or make your day quite profitable. And then the next one is from 16 to 29 kilometers, we add 3,000. So let's say you have a distance, a trip that has a distance of say 25 kilometers, right? When you add 3,000 to it, when you times 25 by 100 and add 3,000 to it, you have around 5,500. This should be the only amount acceptable to you as a minimum. However, you can still compromise and go a little bit lower. Say the person is offering 5,300, right? No problem. It's just 200 naira difference. If they're offering 5,200, no problem. If they're offering more, always go for more, right? Yeah, always go for more. Don't care about the greed. Just get as much as you can, and then going forward, if you find a trip around from 30 kilometers up to 39 kilometers, add 3,500 as the minimum base fare. However, if you ask me, I'll tell you to add 4,000, not 3,500, because for a trip of 30 kilometers, if you add 3,500 after times it by 100, you get 6,500. But if you add 4,000, you get 7,000. And let me tell you this: there is a general notion here, and it's being used all across every kind of business. Take for instance in the bank, if you are able to send somebody 10,000 or you have 10,000 in your account, the bank will take 10 naira and feel like it's nothing to you. And in truth, you too will feel like it's nothing to me. Maybe sometimes 100 naira, it's nothing to me. The point is, if a person is willing to pay as high as 6,500, telling them to pay 7,000 doesn't really mean that much to them. That's the idea, okay? The higher it goes, the more they can just let go of certain amount of money. So that's why I would say, I would recommend, I'm not saying it has to be, but I would recommend that you go 4,000 for a base fare from 30 kilometer to 39 kilometer. Anything above that, add another 500 to the base fare, and keep upping it like that. You'll notice a pattern. So I'm going to leave the link to this fare guide in the description, and also on our WhatsApp channel. So for people who are already following, you find it on the WhatsApp channel. If you still want to join, I think the link is on the channel page. Also leave it in the description as well. Now let me give you some kind of okay, I'm losing the word, but some kind of explanation as to why these base fare makes sense. First things first, this base fare does not equal to the amount you will get on boat. 100% it does not equal to it. If I did a bit of a calculation wherein I was going to a place a distance of 42 kilometers. On boat, I checked the price with or without promotion. The price was actually 12,400 for a distance of 42 kilometers. All right. And then with their, what's it called, the offer or something like that, it goes for 10,400. On INDRIVE, the recommended fare was 8,000. So let's use the fare on boat without offer, which is 12,400, and then the recommended price on INDRIVE was 8,000. By the time you've done your multiplication and subtraction and all that, you will still find that if you had walked on board, you would have made 1,000 almost 2,000 more, but not up to 2,000, something around 1,700, 1,600 more for that trip than on INDRIVE. So there goes the explanation, wherein if a customer knows this, okay, they might want to go for the cheaper option. So far they get to where they want to go to, the same service is being delivered. Unless for customers who are very intentional about security, tracking, comfort and things like that, they tend to feel like they don't get that from INDRIVE, they get that more from Bolt or Uber. All right, so this fare guide does not equate what you get on Bolt. However, it comes really close, really close. Another instance is this. I checked for a distance of around 13 kilometers on Bolt and INDRIVE. On Bolt, it showed me 37 without promotion. On INDRIVE, it showed me 33. By the time I was done with my calculation, guess what? INDRIVE actually would pay you more, or is paying you more, is offering more. And by the time we apply the fare guide to this, it also implies that INDRIVE pays you more, but not for the longest trip. Bolt is basically king when it comes to long trips. So anything that has to do with the longest of trips, please go with Bolt if you can manage it. But again, INDRIVE is very good because people are coming to understand that's a cheaper option. And if you think about it, you actually will not be losing too much. In fact, you will be gaining traction because the customer base there is expanding almost on a daily basis. All right, so that's on the one part. I'm trying to say for certain you may still get more profit on Bolt, but the amount of customers that you get on Bolt cannot be compared to how much customers you may get on INDRIVE or the rides you may get on INDRIVE. So you see the difference, okay? So the other thing is the fare guide here is just that. It's just a guide. It doesn't have to determine what you pick or what you choose. And I think I like to correct the notion that I don't think it's a fastest finger thing. It's just people are thinking they have to click with. There are always numerous customers on that app, so just take your time and pick what you have to pick. Make sure you pick it right. It makes more sense to go on a trip that you don't regret after than to go on a trip and then feel like, what kind of a waste of time is this? And then apart from that, very importantly, the reason why this fare guide is foolproof is the margin between your gross and your net profit is actually 60% and above. Let me give you an instance. Let's say you got a trip for a distance of like 21 kilometers. For 21 kilometers, we just have to times that by 100, which is 2,100 naira, and then our base fare, according to our fare guide, is 3,000. It falls between 16 and 29 kilometers, 16,000. Jesus, 3,000, not 16,000. So 2,100 naira plus 3,000 is 5,100 naira. Now, do a calculation with me. Let's say our vehicle, for a Corolla engine, the average fuel consumption for 100 kilometers is 6.5. But let's use 7 because we're not just dealing with the Corolla drivers or the Corolla car owners here. We're dealing with Honda, Hyundai, Peugeot, and the rest of them. So let's just say 7. Let's put it at a round number. Now, if 7 liters is what it takes to cover a distance of 100 kilometers, that means for 1 kilometer is going to take you around 0.7 liters. Now, fuel at the moment is around 950, maybe 940, 9 something. Some people are buying for 800 and something. I'm just going to make it 1,000 naira. Fuel is 1,000 naira. So if we're going to calculate based on what fuel is right now, that means for each kilometer that you cover, you're spending 70 naira worth of fuel. 70 naira, okay? So now for a distance of 2,100, I think, yeah, you'll be spending around 1,004 something worth of fuel for a distance of 21 kilometers. Now that is deductible. That is something that we have to deduct anyway from our 5,100 naira. Then we then have to remove our commission payment. The commission payment for INDRIVE is 10%, right? So 10% of 5,100 naira is 510 naira. So when you add all that up and everything, you'll find that what you're left with in actual pure profit is around 3,000 something something. When you find out the percentage of 5,100 naira that gives you 3,000 whatever, you will find that you will land somewhere around the premise of 60 something percent. That makes it a very good trip, okay? Because I've come to understand that even on Bolt, even on Uber, they tend to fall within that range of 60 something percent when it comes to the profitability or the margin of net profit from gross. Okay, this is why the fare guide is foolproof. That's the basis on which the calculation was made. Okay, so by the time you've done all of this trip, by the end of your day, you should be landing somewhere around 60 something percent in profit. That means if you did 100,000 in trips for that day, your profit should still come somewhere around 60,000. Do you get the point, right? So that's what we mean. Yeah. So I think that's the gist for this. We are going to try and update all of this as we go along, because there will be some dry months, so all of these things are not going to apply then. We are going to have to downsize or downgrade and all that just to fit with things, and at some point we'll have to upgrade as well. But at the moment, I think this is the best you could do. Okay, you don't have to falter. If a person is not willing to go, don't worry about that. The next person is going to be willing to pay what you're worth. All right, bye bye.